Well, I'm here with the Treasury Minister, Alf Cannan. This is an interview we get a briefing before it's obviously done in Tynwald, and we hold this back until after you stood up there. Let me just point to it. It's got this big, sensational headline here, a budget of resilience. Who would have thought? I mean, you just talked to us with quite interesting numbers and figures and positivity. And yet, when we were sitting here last year, when you had that sort of mini budget, it was all a little different. So, what's happened? What's changed? What's going on?
There's no. I mean, look. I think what we're saying to the public is there has been a cost to this pandemic. Public finances have effectively been rocked by about £200 million.
200 million
in terms of the overall impact of this pandemic, but we've coped with it, and we feel that the strength of public finances means that we are capable and of not only getting through this, but also investing into our future. So really the key theme here for us is that the budget is about economic stability for the next 12 months. It is about protecting jobs. It's targeted investment into our future and targeted investment into key critical public services.
I mean, we can only do a rough overview for this because this is a detailed thing, and of course everyone's got to vote yes. I mean, they can't pick and choose. Again, we still have this issue here in the Isle of Man that it's all or nothing, isn't it?
Broadly speaking, yeah. I mean, there's elements of the budget you're voting for, but yes, I mean, essentially.
Right. So stock market's done really well. So the reserves are in a good position.
Well,
that must be a relief to you because last year they were falling off the cliff.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the reserves position, I think, is part of this message of confidence in our public finances, and a message of confidence also in the fact that we've got the ability to cope with any swings and roundabouts that potentially might face us in the next 12 months. But yeah, no, it's pleasing to see and to note that those investments had returned to the level that they were pre-pandemic. But that doesn't take away from the fact that we have suffered this significant challenge, albeit it could have been a lot worse than it has been, and the economy in that context has performed relatively well, but we have taken a hit, and that's reflected
quite a lot of money
in our cash holdings of about £144 million.
Right, but you've got capital expenditure projects. Where exactly are you with that? Are you going ahead? You putting the freeze on last? Somebody were talking about it.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we're continuing to focus. We've got some major capital projects underway at the moment.
They are the ones like the Liverpool
They're clearly carrying on. There's a number of other minor capital. There's another number of capital projects at far less expenditure that are forecast to take place next year, and they will take place as normal. Of course, it's important to recognise that not only are these capital projects improving the infrastructure for the island, but they also support jobs and the broader economy. So it's a very important part of our programming. We are reforming the way that capital projects take place in terms of the way they are voted on from next year. And we're also setting up a major capital projects unit board
next year. But you won't be in power next year. I mean, you pass this on to the next.
Yeah, but the changes will be in place. Right. They are happening.
This is your last budget, as such. I mean, technically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We got to the fifth. This is isn't it? Actual. This is probably the sixth budget if you include the statement that I made last year. But yes, no. I mean, it's been a interesting 5 years. Let's put it that way.
So the pandemic money, it was NI you took it from in the end, for the resources, because you had all that money to draw down from. Just an overview, because I know it's quite complicated.
Yeah. So the cost of this has been felt primarily in our income levels, which are about £80 million or so different to what we projected in terms of receipts from our taxation as a core part of that. And the rest of the money really has come from our funds, so money we've held back in reserve, and we've supported the economy through all the schemes, the salary support scheme, the MIRA, the business support scheme, with about £120 million worth of additional money, which we've effectively drawn down from our reserves.
From the NI?
National Insurance Fund
that's quite controversial, though, isn't it? The NI take it from that fund, isn't it?
I don't think so. I think National Insurance
isn't that meant to be for certain projects?
No. I mean, I think National Insurance has been there all the way through to protect people in their hour of need, effectively, for want of a better
But even you said you wouldn't do it again, would you, though?
Look, we've used a very healthy situation with the National Insurance Fund to support what the island needed in terms of supporting people's lives, jobs, the economy, businesses. So I am completely clear that we have taken the right steps to meet the needs of the pandemic, and that we've used the available funding in the appropriate way.
So the headline, no new taxes, almost like we hear other countries saying that all the time. But this was a real threat maybe at one stage. That you were going to be short. Things have bounced back so well that we're okay.
Well, no, I think, things haven't bounced back. That certainly we recognise. We forecasted that tax revenue is still going to be less than where we expected it to be 2 years ago. So we were projecting there's going to be less. There is going to be a recovery period. But part of our focus is making sure that the economy remains stable. People have the best chance in terms of jobs, that businesses have as much chance as possible for economic activity, and raising taxes at this point in terms of an immediate reaction to what has been this £200 million hit to public finances is not in the best interest of the island. There's a number of reviews that we've got taking place this year, and that will have to be assessed and looked at in terms of probably a wholesale new financial plan, which will have to be put in place. I would suggest will be the next budget in a year's time.
Looking back 10 years ago, exactly, Anne Crane was doing her budget, and of course the VAT thing was completely underway then, the cutbacks, that sort of thing. We've had a fairly good arrangement here with the VAT now. Everything seems to be coming back, is it?
Well, I think we set out a very strong financial plan, and I'm really pleased with financial plan performance broadly, right up until the pandemic. But we set out a clear financial plan for managing effectively the structural deficit, what we had identified as the structural deficit, and particularly managing the hole in the finances around the public sector pensions, what I would call the deficit, the balance of payments between what I think the government as an employer, what taxpayers employers should pay vis-a-vis what also the employees should pay. We identified that at about £50 million, and just before the pandemic we were on our way to really smoothing over that hole once the reserve money, which we've been using to supplement the gap, dropped away. That was all part of our plan. So look, we had a strong financial plan, and we at the moment we've had to make reasonable assumptions to say actually we think that things will be on track again by about 2022, 2023.
A couple of black clouds though from the EU again about these offshores and the British dependencies. Is that something that we need to keep an eye on?
Absolutely. I mean, it's that discussion has been going on in the background now for some considerable time. It's likely to carry on. It may take some greater relevance depending on how nations and blocs start to react to the pandemic. But we're going to get ahead of that. We're going to be completing a full economic. A full review of our economy, full economic review of the island's position, not only of its position but also with an eye in terms of where we need to invest for the future. And part of that will be an assessment of our tax position. So we'll be bringing that forward later this year.
The Manx Health thing is taking up a big chunk of money, isn't it?
About £15 million into Manx Health.
Is this just another tier? It's already been asked in the other thing. Is this a tier of more bureaucracy, basically?
No, I think it's the way forward. Look, very much instigated the Sir Jonathan Michael review when we first came in and realised the amount of additional revenue and funding that was being given through to the National Health Service at the time. I think we recognised we needed a better corporate structure around it. We needed to put very much the politicians at the heart of policy and Manx Care at the heart of delivery. That's what we're doing. We want a best-in-class healthcare system. We've agreed with Sir Jonathan Michael report the findings of that. We've reacted by putting in the right funding for that model. As I say, we've an additional £15 million. But listen, we all recognise the value of having a top-class healthcare system, and that is what we're seeking to deliver.
So you're going to give civil servants pay rises, all going happy days ahead into the next year?
We've adjusted the budget, as you see, for pay. It was originally forecast for this budget previously at 2%, so we'd set that in as a reasonable funding amount. We've reduced that again to 1%. I think there is a need now, again, unfortunately, for public pay restraint for the next 12 months whilst the economy is stabilised, whilst we really work out what the bigger economic effects of this pandemic has been. So I am calling for public pay restraint for the next 12 months.
Okay. Finally then, I mean, if be it with the election that's obviously in between this and next time, as a Chief Minister, would you be in a happy position to set the direction for the next 5 years? I know
Paul,
I'm being naughty, but
if I've told you once, I've told you a dozen times. I've got
You'd
a
like to do
very
it?
serious job at the moment to
Yeah.
do in very serious
But
times.
you'd like to do
So
it?
I am not.
You'd like to do it? I'm asking because I have to ask you.
You know, you and I have had this
I know.
debate. I've got too much to do to even
And-
think
and-
about what is going to happen.
Oh,
in
you
the
relax
election.
because on this sense you look quite. You're sleeping at night. Everything's okay. And how did the MHK start when you did the presentation? What was it? The mood?
Well,
and
we'll see.
the-
We'll see on Tuesday.
Yeah,
what,
but you give a presentation, right? So you get the idea. Don't you?
Well, look, I'm not going to preempt what MHKs are going to tell me on Tuesday. They will be analysing this, looking at this. What I would say is that this budget really is the nation's budget in terms of, I think it reflects everybody's reaction and activity in terms of responding to this pandemic, the way they've gone about it, the way that people have reacted in terms of supporting the local economy, and net result is, yes, there's been a hit to public finances, but we should be confident in the strength of our public finances, and we should be confident that we're investing in the right areas for a strong future.
Please subscribe to the Isle of Man TV archive channel. Thank you.